What's up, everyone? Good morning and welcome to, I believe, episode 4 of our training breakfast talk training thing. Again, we're outside today, so got my cornfield view, I got my coffee, got my oatmeal right here cooling off, and I got a head full of thoughts. So if you guys like these videos, feel free to, like them and subscribe and share them and comment and do whatever we do on YouTube, because I enjoy these somewhat more than the more formal version. So we can have this one be a fun one and successful. Let's support. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Let's just hop right in. That is one of my thoughts I had today, to be honest with you, was how I actually like doing this much more than my other YouTube stuff, because it's a lot less formal. It's convenient. Like I said, I look at my oatmeal because I do it while my food cools off. So I enjoy it, and maybe that'll be a thought for a different day, but that was one of my thoughts. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the nervous system and what we mean by the nervous system, but more importantly, the importance of intent in training. And intent is a word that I've used synonymously with effort, and effort because I don't like the word effort, because effort's often used with like maximal efforts. If you say that's a max effort movement, people think that's maximal 1 repetition. So I've kind of diverted and used the word intent to be associated with maximal volitional effort you can put into something, regardless of weight. But first, let's talk about the nervous system. So we know the nervous system is this term which we like to use, and it's very nebulous because the nervous system is actually quite complicated. There are many different levels to it and layers to it, and by just saying the nervous system, odds are you're probably right, but you're also not very detailed in it. I'm more talking about the nervous system in terms of the skill aspect of the nervous system, how your brain center organizes movement patterns, and the associated electrical and neurological impulses to your muscles. So in other words, if you think about your nervous system, you have your central command center, your brain, your motor cortex, and this sends signals through neurons to your muscles to activate those muscles to fire and to contract. I personally believe that the ability to rapidly contract those muscles is not just a neurological phenomenon, because obviously it is, right? You have to have the nervous system go to the muscular system. The muscular system has to contract and produce that force, and those all have to be, developed and wired in a certain way to actually do it. But I think we also need to practice doing it in order to cause that adaptation to occur. So what I mean by that is during certain times of the year, certain lifts or whatever it might be, let's ignore when we would use it. I think training with intent, ballistically, moving things fast, jumping with things is really important. I think it's super underrated. I think it's something that not just teaches the muscles to adapt, the nervous system in terms of the firing rates to adapt, but also the skill of it, being able to reproduce it. If you practice not being explosive, you're going to develop the skill, in my opinion, of not being very explosive. And the reason why this kind of came to mind was I was watching the other day a video on, I think it's Boost Up Fitness or something like that, as a YouTube page. And it had special strength exercises from the old USSR high jump team. And it's amazing how many of those movements are movements that, we'd look at today and be like, man, not sure I would do those. And number 2, though, just how many of them were explosive in nature. Jumping, throwing, lifting. Now, while our biomechanics and our teachings and movements have probably gotten better since then, hence why the form might not have been something that we'd seen in the weight rooms today, the underlying premise that we have to move explosively was still there. And it's something that often gets left out in our area of training at times. It's gotten way, way better, I think, from a social view of what I see. But you just go back and you watch things where it became popularized through like West Side Barbells, and the first ones I've seen talk about the need to be explosive and intentful. Yes, I get it. Those means were popularized for powerlifting, but I think they have many different benefits for beyond that. But also, I think where we fell short at times, kind of rambling on here, was our ability to interpret it. We simply thought bench, squat, deadlift explosive with bands. But what about jumping? What about throwing kettlebells? What about pushing a sled? All these things are extremely beneficial for teaching the nervous system. And the underlying principle in all those methods is that word intent I used at the beginning of this discussion. The intent to move it with maximal volitional effort, teaching the nervous system to be explosive, to fire quickly. Because as if it were a skill, because I do believe it is a skill, organizing your muscles in that way to produce a rapid force is something we need to train. You'd be hard pressed to find a power lifter who would tell you that squatting and benching doesn't involve a lot of skill. Expressing really lots of strength against a heavy load requires lots of skill. Why wouldn't being explosive be somewhat of a neurological skill as much as it is a property? A property being something structural, like the neuron itself, or the muscles and the strength. So that's what I was thinking about today, the intent of it, and how we should provide movements and exercises that allow for intent, that allow for high velocity contraction, but also in a safe way. We're using chains and bands and pins and dumbbells and barbells that we can toss and throw and not have to land with. Because the downside with intent is the innate lack of safety that comes with landing with barbells and weights. So if we can find ways to work with intent and train with intent and not have to deal with the consequences of moving things as fast as you can and the subsequent dangers that come with it, I say dangers loosely because you can easily avoid them with a good setup, then I think we should do that. So that's kind of where my thoughts end today. I could segue that into some training load distribution discussion there, but we'll end it here because my coffee is cooling down and I'm ready to eat and I'm hungry. So I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you enjoy. As always, if you guys like this, feel free to comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to hear, what thoughts I should chew on next. So I appreciate y'all and take care and enjoy.